40 years of developing hockey players from youth to the pros, Minnesota Hockey Camps has a player development program for you. Located in Breezy Point, Minnesota, our professionally coached on-ice development sessions, off-ice speed training, weight room sessions, stick handling sessions, shooting skill sessions are the right program for you. MHC takes great pride in its tradition with developing NHL players like Chris Stewart, Ryan Bugsy Malone, Scotty Hartnell, and TJ Oshie. Our dedicated staff is ready for you. Come check us out at MinnesotaHockeyCamps.com. Sign up for your chance to become the player you've always wanted to be. Hashtag who will be next.
Cold showers, leaking pipes, furnace giving you the chills? Look no further. At Iron Range Plumbing and Heating, we've got you covered. From expert plumbing solutions to HVAC magic and all sheet metal work, we are your one-stop shop for comfort and reliability. Professional service from a team that cares. Say goodbye to household woes and hello to peace of mind. Call Iron Range Plumbing and Heating today and feel the difference.
Goat Sports.
At Grand Rapids Chevrolet GMC in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, we have the trucks. Over 47 new Silverados and Sierras sitting currently on the lot with more to come. We have all the options: LT, RST, LTZ, High Countries, ZR2s. We have heavy duties. We have Sierra, SLT, Elevations, Denali's. We are equipped for the truck you are looking for. With great rebates currently, with up to $12,500 off on select models, now would be a great time to take advantage of savings and get yourself into a new truck today. Grand Rapids GM in Grand Rapids, Minnesota.
Welcome everybody to the Tea with Miss McGill Show, presented from as always, from our friends over at Fortune Bay Resort and Casino on beautiful Lake Vermilion. Fortune Bay offers 172 rooms in a smoke-free resort, indoor pool, full-service marina, RV park, world-class golf, several dining options, a bar, and of course, all the gaming you can handle. Visit fortunebay.com for more details and plan your trip to golf at Fortune Bay today. All right, it is Puka speaking. It is the star of the show, Coach Reed Larson, episode 112. We got a very special guest coming to you here. How you doing, Coach?
I'm just living the dream, man. Summertime and spending time on the ice. That's what we're doing, right?
That's right, yeah. Hot summer day here in northern Minnesota. A few subscribers since our last show. Chad Curran, Krista Brown, and Bonnie Brooks Fearing. So join these fine folks with a big subscribe right now, and you will join America's fastest growing hockey broadcast. All right, we are pleased to welcome our next guest. We were just talking a fellow Iron Ranger, head coach up at Air Force Academy, up in the Great Rocky Mountains right now, Frank Serratore. Frank, welcome, and thank you so much.
No, it's great to be with you, Puka, and I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever seen a Hibbing guy read that proficiently before. I mean,
It was pretty bad.
I love it. Yeah. We're not a minute in and we're throwing shots. I love it.
Yeah, I could tell you were like you were nervous. I mean, it didn't really come natural. It's not like that beer in your hand right now, and after you have a couple at happy hour. But
well, you know what Puka would say, Coach, is he would say, well, the assumptions of I can't believe a Hibbing guy could read it that proficiently, and he would say it's because I'm from Chisholm.
Yeah, I'm like you, Coach. We're gonna find out you have two hometowns too. I kind of have two hometowns too. So we're wherever we need to be at the time, right?
You know what? That's the greatest thing about the range, and when I grew up on the range, is every town had a hockey player, and a good one. Like the big schools, the International Falls and Eveleth and Grand Rapids and Hibbing, they were Virginia. They were loaded, but even those small towns like Chisholm, like they had when I was playing Johnny Stompahar, man, one of the toughest customers you ever want to see, and the Falcons, the Paulines. The Skalkos came from Gilbert. I mean, Aurora Hoyt Lakes, you had Matt Christensen and Bobby Loxo, Greg Woods and the Schneiders from Babbitt, the Skalkos from Gilbert. Every little town. It wasn't just the big town. There was really good players, and actually Chisholm was a basketball town, but they had some hockey players. They had some hockey players that came out of there.
Holy cow, did you hear that? We're not going to get any shots from Pauline this time.
Oh, yeah.
We finally named Pauline. He was like, who are these
Yeah,
guys?
Robert.
Whatever on our last
Yeah,
podcast.
Robbie's brother Timmy's.
Yeah, there you go, Tim. You just
yeah.
got a Pauline shout out.
Yeah, there you go, Timmy. It's your day to shine. So, but Frank, yeah, why don't we start? Like I said, why don't you tell me when we were born? I was really surprised when I found this out. So I thought you were Coleraine through and through. But why don't we start at the beginning and just maybe go through how you kind of got started playing and getting over to Greenway?
Well, unlike the DeCenzos and the Caseys, who migrated over to Grand Rapids from Eveleth and Coleraine, I mean, unlike that, I migrated over. My dad was from G.O.A.T, and he was a G.O.A.T guy, and he taught school in Deer River, and so I was born in Grand Rapids because Deer River didn't have a hospital at the time, and but I grew up till I was like in sixth grade. Yeah, we went through sixth grade in Deer River. I was the oldest in my family. We had 5 kids, and I was the oldest. And then we moved over to Coleraine, and I started junior high there. And that's when, hockey, just hockey on the range. I think it was, personally, in my opinion, it was the golden age of hockey. I mean, you look at, the players that were on the 80 Olympic team and the impact that the Iron Range kids had on that group, and there was just every town you go to the games and the rinks were filled, and I remember the smoke on the up above because they were smoking in there, and the smoke above and the pep bands, and it was rocking, and in Coleraine it was really, we were just coming off. It had been a few years, but not that long. With winning the back-to-back state championships with Antone and Tommy, Jimmy Peluso in that crew, and but you'd go to those games and it was infectious. I was watching that and it was so seductive, and in fact, I go I want to be a part of this, and I had never played hockey before, but I'd played baseball and other sports, and I was okay. And so I wanted to give it a try, but really the only position, because I hadn't skated, was goalie. So I said I was there a year and I 2 years, and I'm going I'm going to try this. I'll just play a house league. I'll just play town team. And so I started to play hockey. And back then you didn't have to buy the gear like the associations; they gave it to you. And I wanted to try out. I went down and try out. They gave me the gear. I had a pair of skates. They weren't even goalie skates. I went out, but I was good. I wasn't good enough to make Coleraine's team. But Beauvais next door, they needed a goalie in the next little town. So I went over to Beauvais and played there. And I took to it pretty quickly because they had tryouts like a week or no month or so later, maybe a month and a half. And we had all the little towns in, Coleraine, Beauvais, Taconite, Marble, Calumet, Pengilly, Cloverdale, Lawrence Lake, La Prairie. Anyway, everybody had a town team. That was kind of our house league. And then they picked an all-star team to represent Greenway. And then you would travel and play some games. And then at the end of the year, you'd go to the district tournament and play. Well, I went and tried out and I made the all-star team in Coleraine. And, it was obviously there what couldn't have been much competition, but I made the all-star team, and we actually had a pretty good team, and we had to get by Grand Rapids in the district, and we did. We beat them in overtime, and that was a team. Obviously, the foundation of that 75 championship Grand Rapids team was there. Donnie Lucia was a younger player on that team, and anyway, we beat them. We went on. And then we won the region, and we went to the state tournament. And here I am, the year before, I didn't know a blue line from a clothesline. A year later, I make this team, and I continue to get a little bit better. And we have a good little Bantam team. We go to the Met Center. I'm in the Met Center playing in the Final Four. We beat Rochester with Eric Strobel and Glenn Letourneau. They had a good little team in Rochester right when Rochester was starting to come. And all of a sudden, we win that game, and we're playing in the Met Center where the North Stars play. We're playing Edina in the state championship. And well, they fed us pretty good in the state championship game. But but it was, when you look at it, I didn't start playing until I was in ninth grade, and that year I made the All-Star team, and obviously a team that was pretty good. We lost in the state championship game, so it was kind of a magical thing, and I continued to get a little bit better, and my career went there. But I think that's kind of the most remarkable thing. And when I meet people now at my camps or wherever, and like here in the military community, come in and kids will start late, and they go, well, I don't know if he should start hockey. Like he's in fifth grade. We've been in the deep South. There's no hockey and all that. And I tell them my story. It's never too late. And if you're good enough and you're determined enough, you'll find a way. But no, Deer River was where I was born. Ironically, I'm going to bring Donnie Lucia back in there. Donnie's dad, Mario, they were in Big Fork, and Mario, they moved to Grand Rapids to be the football coach. He was the football coach in Big Fork, and they moved, and of course Donnie ended up being a really good player and drafted by the Flyers and played at Notre Dame. But Donnie grew up in Big Fork, and he was a little younger when they moved to Grand Rapids. And his older brother Mickey was a really good athlete, really good football player, a pitcher, could throw heat, big guy, looked like John Elway on the mound. And but Mickey was a basketball player, and because they moved late and he just kept doing what he was doing, Donnie got involved in hockey. So you got two Division I coaches. Eventually, we all both evolved into climbed the ladder and became Division I college hockey coaches. And one of them's from Deer River, and the other one's from Big Fork, two towns that don't have hockey. Ironically, yeah.
Well, that's a great story. So get a little bit into after getting into the high school situation, you play high school hockey at Coleraine. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I played that Bantam year in ninth grade, and then going into 10th grade, like we had a high school coach who's a legend. You guys know him, Bob Janander, and Bob was our high school coach, and Bob was he still is the man over in Coleraine, and everybody looked up to him. He was godlike, and everybody wanted to play. Everybody wanted to play for Bob, and what a fantastic guy, a great coach. Anyway, I went and tried out for the high school team, and this is my second year playing hockey, and I tried out for the high school team, and we weren't a powerhouse then, but hey, we were Greenway, and we were still pretty good. Like, I mean, the big schools, the bigger school, Hibbing, Grand Rapids, Evelyn Falls, they were a little deeper but we still had a good team. Anyway, like I go through the tryouts. Anyway, I remember Bob Janander comes up and talks to me, and I'm just like, oh my God, like Bob's going to talk to me. He wants to talk to me. So he brings me in the other, he goes, I want to talk, brings me in the other room. And I go, as I'm walking in there, he goes, this can't be good news. I mean, he's probably going to cut me or something, but whatever. I'll play B team. But he went in, he goes, I got some good news and bad news. He goes, you're going to play, you're going to be on the A team. And but here's what I want you to do. You need to get more experience. So you're gonna practice with the A team and the B team, and you're gonna play the games with the B team, and you're gonna be the backup on the A team. So so my second year of playing hockey, I made the varsity team over in Coleraine, and like I said, we weren't a powerhouse, but we were still good. I mean, hey guys, back in those days, I don't know how far you go back, but you can talk to. I remember talking to Billy Baker one time and mentioning, like back in those days, the hardest part about getting to the state and winning the state tournament was getting to the state tournament. Yeah. Because like we had that my senior year, Grand Rapids won it, and they beat Hill Murray in the championship game. It was only 2-0, but it was a 2-0 ass kick, and Steve Janizak put on a show, or it would have been 6 or 7-0. But Grand Rapids, their biggest, the toughest part of their journey was getting out of the Iron Range Conference. And like I'm telling you right now, Grand Rapids won the state tournament, but Virginia could have won the state tournament. Evelyn could have won the state tournament. International Falls, Hibbing, like if any one of those teams that got there, like they had, like it wouldn't have been an upset, like for our top 5 teams to win the state championship. That's how powerful the range was, and range hockey was back then. But I got a chance.
The state tournament in the section there, it was either 75 or 76. You can clear this up with me, but one of those 2 years that Grand Rapids, they won back-to-back state championships, right? 75, 76. One of those 2 years that they went, they actually lost in the section tournament. Was it the Falls that went, and then they ended up going the backdoor route one of those 2 years?
Well,
that was take 2 out of section 7 because there wasn't 8 sections.
No, Reed, like that's a really good thing to talk about. That's how good hockey was in the North, and that they had that Region 3, the back door. Region 3 didn't have any hockey, so and the range in the North, the hockey in the North was so strong that whoever the runner-up was in Section 7 and Section 8, they had to play. They would play off, and the winner would go and represent Region 3. And Greenway, I think there's 67 team or six. One of the teams went through the back door and won the state championship. But that happened all the time. Hibbing, when Hibbing won the state in 73, Falls won. I believe Falls won the section, and then Hibbing went through the back door, and that's when Joey Micheletti went down and put on a show, and they won the state championship. But in 75, that was with, Johnny Rothstein, God could he skate, and Billy Baker. And they had, I believe, 12 or 13 players that eventually played Division I hockey. Dan Lempe, could he shoot a puck? My God, and but yeah, it probably might have been in 76. They won it in 75 and 76. I graduated in 75, and then I went down and played juniors in St. Paul. That was, that was the golden age. And I mean, you just go through the towns, and I just named some names. I hate to do that because you forget people, but you go into Evelyn and you had to play. Here's me, a goalie. Just a good thing I didn't have much history, because I'm going in playing against, Dave Delich and Pavlich and in Evelyn and Davey Jolson and Harrington and Keith Hendrickson and Virginia, like the Falls and Hibbing, Donnie Micheletti. Everybody talks, and Pat the Rat. Pat was a terrific little player. But don't forget about that Micheletti, the whole tribe. I mean, when you start out with Andy or Andy and Jerry. Andy was a goalie, and he played at Gustavus or somewhere, but he was a big goalie. And then Jerry Micheletti, people don't really know much about Jerry. Jerry came to Air Force. He's one of the Air Force's all-time greatest players that ever played here. He was a defenseman. And then Donnie, oh God, you talk about a player. Like Donnie was big, and he was tough, and he was scary tough, and he could score goals. I'll tell you what, Pat had a great career. He would have had a better career if he'd have been able to play with Don, because anybody that went near Pat, Don would have killed him, and Don would have, and Pat would have fed Don goals all day and all night. But the families, the Lempes, the DeCenzos, and we could sit here and talk about the Falcones and the Deliches all day long. The families were big, and all the kids, they all played sports. It was what a great time it was to grow up on the Iron Range. Guys, the mines were booming. People had money. The bars were hopping on the weekends. I mean,
mines were moving and all of that. I missed it by about 10 years. I was born in 78. You were born in 76 or
75. Yeah, we missed the glory years. But by the time I remember things, it was, early 80s, and things were down in the dumps. Things were different. But yeah, we talk all the time. And as a matter of fact, Pat was our guest on our show in May. So if you're on a recruiting trip sometime, throw it on. But so we got to talk to, like I said, one of nine, and he told all kinds of stories of the 70s and 80s. So that was a pretty good one, but certainly is nice to reminisce.
And the names like Puka, I don't know what your name is, and but yeah, and you do. Okay, I saw Roger, but I mean, like, everybody had nicknames back then, and then like you didn't even know some of the guys' real name until you graduated from high school. You're in graduate, and they call his name up, and they go like, who's Roger?
Well, that's what taconite is right now. Still the same in taconite. Well, you got so-and-so over there. You got Block. You got Bucket. Everybody in the world over there has got a nickname. And I'm over at the Taconite Legion going, I don't know what this guy's all. That's Block, or that's, throw somebody's name out. It's got a nickname in taconite, for crying out loud.
But everybody had one back then. It was like, and like, it was just the way it is. And now, like, I'm 100 years old now, but I still run camps and that. And you go in, and there's a kid, Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy, my name is James. Okay, all right, James. Whatever.
Dead serious.
I'm just going to call you Turtle because you're slow. Like.
That's funny. Well, let me sneak in a quick ad read here. Support for the show continues to come from Aero Auto Glass and Supply. They're your local source for windshield repairs and replacement with same-day service and repairs available. Aero Auto also provides home services like installing and repairing your windows, glass doors, and glass shower doors. Aero Auto specializes in commercial glass door installation and repair. All of their work is warranted, and they accept all insurance companies for your convenience. So if you're out on the dirt roads going lake to lake this past weekend over the 4th of July and you need that window fixed, Aero Auto Glass and Supply, downtown Virginia, and now their new location in downtown Hibbing.
I just went by it the other day.
Oh, you saw it?
I did see it. I saw it.
You picked up a T-shirt too, Reed.
Yeah. There it is.
They made him pay full price.
Well, sure.
So like you guys are like I'm an old man. I know I am, but I like to pretend I'm not. Like, what years did you guys say you were born?
78. So I was a 97 grad from Grand Rapids.
Yeah, so I'm a 75. So you graduated in May or June of 75. I was born in December of 75. So I would have been a 94 graduate with Mark DeCenzo being my high school coach in Hibbing.
Oh yeah, no, Mark, I hate to say it, but I got golf shirts that are older than you. And one that I still wear. One that I still wear. Yeah.
One of my good friends and classmates that I graduated with played a couple of years at Air Force, Marcus Peters.
Oh yeah.
So
Marcus was on my first teams here.
Yeah.
And good. You know what, Mark? A good little left shot forward. Sneaky fast. I actually Marcus dated my cousin's kid, Gina Price, at the time, and Gina is my cousin, Louis.
I graduated with her too.
Yeah.
She's a great gal.
Yeah, fantastic.
All right, well, so we kind of went through the Greenway, so let's carry on post high school here. So I'm pretty sure you had some junior hockey down there in St. Paul.
Yeah, I started late, and I loved it, and I just so I wanted to stay with it. And my senior year, I made the all-state team. I made the all IRC team and the all-region team, and then the WCCO all-state team, and actually was on the all-state team with Steve Januzak. But I went down, and my senior year. Bob Janander, my high school coach, had taken a job in the old Midwest Junior Hockey League. He left after my 10th grade year, and he went to Fargo, and he was coaching the Fargo Moorhead Sugar Kings, and he had all the good northern kids that didn't go to college right away. Like he had the Earl, the Sargent brothers, and Earl. Donnie Matson, you want to talk about a good hockey player from Grand Rapids? Oh my God, was Donnie a little ball player? And anyway, the best player on my high school team was not me. The best player on my high school team, our high school team, hands down, was a kid named Johnny Murphy, and Johnny was a good little player. Anyway, Bob Fargo Moorhead drafts, Johnny and I, and Beefy Lawson from Taconite. Timbo was playing for the Sugar Kings as well. Timbo Lawson, and from Taconite, we got drafted by the Sugar Kings, and we went down to watch them play. Beefy Lawson brings us down, and it was kind of like a visit, you know. And we went into Fargo. Going to Fargo from Coleraine, for me, that was like going to another planet, man. I mean, that was we didn't travel like we weren't as worldly as these kids were now. But we went down there, and anyway, the game was with the St. Paul Vulcans. It was a playoff game, and they had a big Donnybrook fight. And actually, Timbo got punched in the face and the nose and broke his nose. And it was violent, and it was. But you know, that's kind of how some of the hockey was in those days. You know, in the mid '70s, the Philadelphia Flyers were winning Stanley Cups, just beating the shit, intimidating people, and beating the shit out of them.
And Pond Street bully.
Yeah, right, absolutely. And you know, so we're down there, and anyway, like it got to be such a bad. There was lawsuits and all this. Anyway, Fargo ends up folding their team, and in my plan, I'm going to Fargo and play for Bob. I don't care where Bob was. I was going to, if I could play for Bob Janander, like I was going, and. So anyway, all of a sudden they fold, and I asked Bob, like, what should I do? Anyway, he got another job in like it was called like the Southwest Minor Pro League, and he went out to, I think it was Albuquerque, and he was coaching there. So like I was kind of an orphan, and I didn't want to go to school. I really wasn't into school. I was into hockey and girls, and sometimes not in that order, you know, and. But I wanted to play junior hockey, and Johnny Murphy was with me. He came back, and I go, well, like, what are you going to do, Murph? And he goes, I think I'm just going to go to Bemidji. My brother Connie is there at Bemidji. He knows Bob Peters, and I'm going to go to Bemidji State. And Murph was kind of a homebody. No, he was a homebody, and he loved the hunting and fishing, but he went to Bemidji State, and he was a small college All-American twice. I'm telling you, like he was a D1 player, like hands down. Back then there was only Duluth and Minnesota in the state. St. Cloud was not D1, neither was Mankato. Bemidji wasn't, but Johnny was a heck of a player, and he just decided to go do that. Well, I didn't know what to do, and anyway, we had a guy from our town, ironically, that never played hockey either, that kind of worked his way into a scouting position. And his name was Mike Radakovich, and his nickname was Patso. So Patso Radakovich. And anyway, Patso had corresponded with me a little bit during the season, and his mother lived above the bank. And I used to go there. We'd go there as kids, and she'd give us cookies, and she was Ann, what their name was. Anyway, and I saw Ann, and she goes, "What are you going to do next year, Frankie?" I go, "I don't know. I was going to go with Bob the Fargo," and she goes, "Well, Patso's coming to town next weekend. Let's get together, and he'll figure something out for you." So anyway, we'll get together with Patso, and he makes a call to Doug Woog in St. Paul, who's coaching the Vulcans, the team that just beat up the team that I was gonna go to in Fargo, and he got me a tryout down in St. Paul with the Vulcans. So I remember going down there, and that was intimidating, going down there and going to a tryout. And there had to been 120 guys at this tryout, and there was like 20 goalies. And I'm just looking around and going, well, I ain't going to be long for this, you know. And start going through. They start cutting, start paring it down, this, that. And I make it down to the end, and I make it to the All-Star game, and I end up making St. Paul's team. And so I went down and played 2 years of hockey in St. Paul for the Vulcans. And the Midwest Junior League is the precursor to the USHL. Actually, the St. Paul Vulcans, it's the Tri-City Storm now in the USHL. That's the old Vulcan franchise. They bought it, you know. And so I played for Doug Woog for 2 years, and was he a beauty? I mean, he had just been, you know, he just got done playing like, you know, probably 5 or 6 years before that. So like, I mean, Wooger could still zip around. He was a little guy, but he was a really good hockey player. And I remember him coming in and freaking sniping me and then chirping me. You know, he still had more player than coach at the time, and he was fiery and he was fun to play for. I loved Doug, and he was awfully good to me. But man, like he was competitive. He was really competitive. I remember we were playing the Bloomington Junior Stars. Another guy, Mark Mazzolini, you might be familiar with him. Maz was an assistant at Minnesota, started the Stevens Point program, was the head coach at Miami, Harvard. Anyway, Maz was my goaltending partner. And Maz is playing this game, and we're playing the Junior Stars, and we're just all over them. But we can't score. They got a guy named Dickie Bain down on the other, and we can't. It was either Bain or Holman. They had two good goalies. We couldn't score. And we outshot them, I think, like 19-5, and Maz is in the net. And Wooger, we come in, we're down 4-1. We're out shooting them like 19-5, and you just like you knew this wasn't going to be good. Anyway, Doug comes in and he goes, you know what? We're doing a good job here. We're doing a good job there. And then he looks at Maz. He goes, except for you. He goes, I could roll a beach ball at you from the red line and it would go between your legs. I mean, are you kidding me? 5 shots, 4 goals. And he goes, we need better. We need more from you. We need you to be better. And I'm sitting over in the corner going, God, thank God I'm not in there, because they were all pretty good goals that they scored. And I'm going like, if I was in, it wouldn't have been any different. And he's going to Maz, you're this and you're that and you're this and you're that. And he looks at me, and if you were any freaking good, you'd be playing.
Well, I could see it. So Woogie and Mike Antone, weren't they line mates with Dean Blaze at the U? Wasn't that the trio?
No, Wooger was older than that. Wooger was an All-American in the early '60s, but Blazer and Antone went there together, and Blazer will tell you the story, and Antone he'll confirm it. You know that Dean's wife Wendy did all Antone's homework, and she did it sometimes too well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Antone was he one of our first guests?
Yeah, we had it. Yeah, back
about 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And we had Antone on. That was a great interview too. It was fun to talk to him.
Yeah, he had a lot of, well, as you know, he had a lot of stories. He's been everywhere. You know, he's still going, still scouting. He's still everywhere.
Was he a player? And I mean, I'll jump because Antone was my assistant with the Minnesota Moose, and so I got to spend 2 years with Mike Antonovich and Glenn Sonmore. They should have charged me for that job. I mean, it was so fun. I would going into work every day and listening to those two guys banter. And Glenn, of course, Glenn's a legend and he's a beauty. Everybody remembers him from the radio and the biggest homer in Minnesota hockey history. But what a fantastic guy he was. And Antone was obviously one of the greatest players ever to come out of the state. I mean, what a dynamo he was. And at his size, played in the WHA, played in the NHL, pretty much led any team that he ever played on in scoring. And great guy. And but getting back a little bit, I got a sidebar story. I'm kind of at the end, done playing. I had gone to Western Michigan, and I came back and finished up at Bemidji State, and I got the coaching bug from Bob Peters, playing for Bob Peters. I mean, like, what a guy! I tell you, he's inspired so many coaches that are out there today. But going there and playing for him, and like hockey was a science to him. You had to go. He had a hockey class that we went to, and you got a notebook, and he had these rules, and this is why this is
commandments.
No, he did the 24 rules. No, and those rules are still applicable to this day. But after playing for Bob Peters, I realized I had my goaltending partner down there was Jimmy Scanlon, and Jimmy was way better than me. So I needed a new career path. I needed a new career direction. And playing for Bob, I'm going, you know what? Like, I had coached baseball and Legion baseball, and I'd always been pretty good. I always had been successful at coaching the teams that I coached. So I kind of wanted to get into that, and Bob inspired me to do that. But anyway, I'm right at the end. I'm actually in Grand Rapids, and I'm over I'm doing my student teaching at the middle school in Grand Rapids for a guy named Tom Drzenovich, who was just a fantastic.
Tommy D is my idol.
What a fantastic guy. And Mario Lucia was also at that school. And I got a chance to coach Greenway's JV. That was my first I got my first introductory to coaching. But at the end of the season ended and it went real well, and I did well as the B team coach. But anyway, one day I'm at home and I'm at the end, and my phone rings and I pick it up and he goes, Frank, this is Lou Nanny. And I'm going like, yeah, right. Is Dean Martin with you? You know, and I'm going like, he goes, no. He goes, it's Lou Nanny. And he goes, I go, well, what's up? You know, what's up, Lou? And I'm just going like, am I getting punked here or what? You know? And he goes, we need a goalie down in Nashville. We don't need anybody to play. We just need a backup. We don't have a backup. And we need somebody to go down and back up Robbie Moore. We got an injury. Lindsay Middlebrook is injured. And he goes, we can't find anybody. And he goes, Anton said, you'll come down and you'll play for a plate of spaghetti. And I go, if you pay my way, I'll play for a plate of spaghetti. So I went down. That was my little stint in pro hockey. I went down and Anton got me a chance to play a little bit of pro hockey. If you look at my resume, it says I played for the Nashville South Stars. I played one period and didn't get scored on. And I said, I got to be the only goalie in hockey history to get a chance to play, not get scored on, and never be heard from again. But
well, that's what they call a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what we're going to do is, everybody, we're going to take a quick break here. So once again, we've got Frank Serratore. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you liked the show, please leave a review and subscribe. We would appreciate that. It is Puka, another show from Goat Sports Media that we'd like to tell you about. If you're into dirt track racing, it is that time of year. The One to Go show covers dirt track racing in the upper Midwest each and every week. Facebook, YouTube, podcast. So find it at all your favorite places. Join Ryan Aho, hockey coach Jeff Krause, and Bert Lehman is break down all the action weekly. Check them out right now. All right. Welcome, everybody, back to the Tea with Miss McGill show. Once again, our special guest, Frank Serratore. Before we get going with Frank here, support for the show continues to come from Aspire Heating and Control, your local Bryant dealer. And Bryant is the official heating and cooling company of your Minnesota Wild. Aspire specializes in gas, electric, and hydronic heating and cooling systems for existing and new construction. Residential and commercial installations available. Services include forced air systems, boilers, heat pumps, and mini splits. They are, of course, licensed and bonded. It's a hot one today. If they need that AC tuned up, it's Aspire Heating and Control, 999-5957. Give Justin a call, 218-999-5957.
I drove by them the other day, too, when I was going through Hibbing.
They've been everywhere.
I don't know what the deal is, but our sponsors are everywhere.
That's good.
They must like that. Just a couple things. Just going back to a couple things that we talked about in that first half. I got to throw this out at you because you're talking about Bob Jernander and he was like a god in the area for coaches. But you'll get a kick out of this. I'm driving through Beauvais literally the other day, and I'm pulling through the back alley behind the goofy, Trinity Church that's back there, and he's out there weed whacking. He's waiting. Oh, yeah. And I roll down the window. I go, Coach, what's going on? He's like, hey, what? He looks at me and goes, what's your name again? And I go, Larson Reed. And he's like, yeah, you're the Rapids kid. I remember he's sitting there weed whacking at his age, and he still knows who the hell he's talking to. It's unbelievable. The guy's an absolute legend. So that was
no doubt. No, he is, and he was and what a good man. And he took care of his boys, and I'm proud to be one of his boys. I wish I could see him more often. But Puka, you asked me about how I can remember all these names. Any goalie worth his salt always remembers the names of the guys that scored goals on him and which way they shot. And trust me, like a lot of them scored on me. So I know a lot of names. But
Well,
actually
we're gonna have to
I had
clip up Grand Rapids goalie last name might be Clapton.
Yeah, we might have to
more
quiz
often.
him a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, but Carter's way better than me. Trust me. Yeah. Trust me.
Yeah,
You know what? Hey, I played back in the day when 5'9" was big. You know, now I'd have to be the student manager at 5'9" now. All these guys are big. Actually, I don't get many visitors here, but I had a couple visit me today. Gordy Scar showed up, and he was the club pro over at Eagle Ridge in Coleraine.
Yep,
and he's over here with his boy Ben. So I got to. So this is a great day for me. I get to bullshit with two sets of Iron Range guys.
Heck yeah.
That's a good day for the old man. That's a good day.
Sounds like a win for an Iron Ranger. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So the other question, or I guess the other part that you're talking about, I just want you to just touch a little bit more, because I have a little bit of not playing with history but learning from people that also learned from Bob Peters. So the coaching influence that you got from that man, I coached with. I started my coaching career down in Wilmer at Wilmer High School, and one of the guys that I coached with was Dan Tollefson, and he played for Bemidji State. And everything that he did and we did were things that were learned from Bob Peters. And that's where I learned about the 10 Commandments, right? And then I coached with a guy over in Virginia that was my assistant, Todd Krybeck, who was a goalie at Bemidji, played for Bob Peters. So for anybody that doesn't, that's listening, that doesn't know, that era of hockey, Bob Peters was an absolute coaching legend at the college level. He's got a cup named after him. They did that in the NCHA forever for Division III and Division II. Talk about the influence in your coaching style and how you do things, just Bob Peters style.
Well, first of all, Bob Peters, like nobody, I don't know anybody's coaching tree that is bigger than Bob Peters. Like if you played for that guy, like the way he went about his business and his craft, like he inspired his players, and like back then hockey was more of a player's game than a coach's game. It's a coach's game now, trust me, know. And but it was more of a player's game. But Bob, there was Bob had these sets of rules, and this is how we play. And we talk about our group of five play and how everybody needs to be connected. Bob Peters understood all that stuff. He was way ahead of his time, and his coaching tree is gigantic. The only guy that I know that might have as close to a big a coaching tree as Ron Mason. That's the only one. But Bob Peters, if you go around the state, you just brought up Tollefson, like you go Tommy Soderdahl. I mean, I could sit here all day and list guys that were disciples of Bob Peters. What's criminal is he's not in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. Like it's criminal. He should be in there with what he did, wins wise, successful as far as a winning, and basically as a builder and all. Like I really believe one of the big reasons that Minnesota hockey is what Minnesota hockey is today is his disciples, all those coaches that went out, and they went out with a clue. They went out with a plan. Like he taught all of us how to coach. And my playing career wasn't long, because I think I took it as far as I could take it. I was okay little athlete. After a while, you got to have a little bit more than that to get to the high levels. But I was blessed to be able to be around some really, really, really good hockey people, starting with Bob Janander, Doug Woog, Bob Peters, Gino Gasparini. I worked for Gino for 2 years. I got to be around Glenn Sonmore for 2 years. Another guy that was really good to me, took me under his wing, and between him and Bob Peters and these other guys with Chuck Grillo. Chuck Grillo was a Hibbing guy, and Chuck took me under. Chuck Grillo hired me. He was selling T-shirts off this Harley he was driving along. He wheeled into the bar in Goodland that I was bartending at for Harley Jensen, one of the greatest human beings of all time, and at Harley's Haven. And he came in, and I'm going, Gringo, you knew who Gringo was right away. He was the coach over in Bemidji, and he just had a look. Like everybody knew who he was. And anyway, after a while, we start talking, and he goes, "You're the goalie, Frankie, sir. You're the goalie." And I go, "Yeah." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "Well, right now I'm bartending and, I'd like to get into coaching." He goes, "You know what?" He goes, "I got a hockey camp with Herb Brooks. We're just starting up, called Minnesota Hockey Schools." It was 1981, right after Herb won the gold medal in 80. And anyway, he goes, "I got this camp down in Shattuck, and my goalie coach backed out on me." He goes, "You want to be a goalie coach?" I go, "I can coach goalies." And so Gringo hires me right out of the bar. The next week, I'm on my way to Shattuck, down to Shattuck with Bob Janander and his little boy, Kenny. And that was the first paid job that I ever had with. Chuck took care of me, just like all these guys were. They were legends, and they were good people, and every one of them that I played for, like they inspired me in some way. People ask me who I, get where my coaching style came from. I go, it's come from 10, 15, 20 guys. I mean, like because you have to be yourself. You can't be somebody else. But like when you see something, and Reed, this, like when you see something that somebody do something, you go, "Hey, that fits me. I'm taking that. I'm stealing that," and my goaltending career the same way. Like, who did you model yourself after? I go, I watched all the goalies back then as much as you could. We don't have the video like we did today, but I watched them all, and I'd get this from this guy and this from that guy. So my playing and coaching was kind of a collage. And I was so fortunate to be able in my short career to be around legends. I mean, legends of the game up in Minnesota. I mean,
you don't see it like that anymore, Coach. You don't, and it's unfortunate, but it's funny because just as we were talking at our little break time, I just said I got to talk about Bob Jernander for a second. I got to talk about Bob Peters, and now he throws out another one. I'll tell you what, our sponsors are going to love you today. So when you watch this back, you see the shirt he's wearing right now?
Yeah, I sure do.
Hockey camps. Now, of course, Gringo doesn't own it anymore. He and Dino sold the camp. And Chris Stewart and my brother Craig Larson and Tony Massieri bought that camp. Chris Stewart is the one that is the sole owner of that camp. They moved it to Breezy Point. Well, they're one of our big sponsors for this thing. So that's going to come up when you see this, when you watch this back, that's going to be commercial you see first before the podcast comes on. So this is, and every single time something comes up with Minnesota hockey camps, Gringo's the first one to say, "Good job, Stewie and Craig for keeping it going," and blah, blah, blah. It's hilarious because they're going to absolutely love us today.
Yeah. No, I went, I tell you about that. I'm going down with Bob Janander and Kenny to work at Minnesota hockey camps, and they were running a camp, and Herb was down there, and they were running it out of Shattuck. That was before they were getting everything in place up in Brainerd at the lodge. They were getting it all in place for the final, for the next year. And anyway, I walk down there, I have my gear, and I walk over to the rink, and I walk in, and and Gringo, great guy, but old school and a Marine. And I remember walking in there, and he is undressing this Zamboni driver because he was late for work, and Gringo was on him and this and that, ripping him, boom, boom, boom. And this kid's just sitting there kind of looking at his shoes and feeding him. And then he goes, "Get the hell out of here. You're done." And I'm going, like, I'm just crapping in my pants. I'm going, holy cow. I can tell you one thing I just learned. I ain't going to be late. I ain't going to be late tomorrow, And anyway, he walks out, and the kid leaves the thing, and I'm going, "Oh my God!" And everybody starts laughing. I'm going, "That, what's so funny about that?" He goes, "That's his kid. He fires him all the time. He'll hire him back in a couple of days."
That's hilarious.
It was Robbie.
Oh, that's funny. I love it.
So what was Shattuck like then? Was it like it is now? I mean, maybe not necessarily the talent, but was it like a prep school in Minnesota?
It was, but it wasn't what it's evolved into being. But it was a private prep school, and the coach that was there, his name was John, something, good guy, and I'm getting Alzheimer's disease. I should remember his name. But to be honest with you, I remember it looked pretty much the same as it does right now. Minus the history with Jonathan Davis and Sidney Crosby and this guy and that guy. But I had never heard of it before. We went down and, I'm sure you guys have been down there, and it's the structure, like it's an old Gothic like type, stone built place. And it was that back then. And, but then obviously some of the hockey guys got in there. Tommy Ward's been there for years. Andy Murray was there for a while. Mike Eaves, and then the rest is history. My God. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, you find your way in, you get yourself a job. Am I skipping over anything? You find yourself into a Division I coaching position at Air Force. Where's your first stop, your first big career coaching job?
Well, and thanks for keeping me on track, because I kind of get lost every once in a while. I'm an old man, and I kind of go here. There's a like they call the rabbit holes. I'm easy falling down them.
Yeah, I fall down them all the time.
But anyway, I go work for Gringo that week or 2 weeks, whatever we were down there. And I remember sidebar taking little Kenny on the weekend. We were there for 2 weeks because we got to the weekend. And I remember I never saw the Twins play before in real, and I go, so I took Kenny, and he was like 12 years old or something. And we went to Met Stadium, and we watched in 1981, you can, some of the old timers were still there, but that was a thrill. And I kind of get lost here, but I worked for Gringo for those 2 weeks there. Well, Bob Peters has his camp, and I think when Bob found out that Gringo hired me, like I was good enough to work for him too. So Bob hired me to come and coach at Bemidji. So I was kind of going between Bemidji and Brainerd and work in a summer camp. I worked the entire summer, and I got to be around a pile of coaches, and I don't even want to start naming them off the names, because like a lot of them were high school guys. Mike Serratore was there, and Gringo took Mike in. Mike, that's after he had quit drinking and stuff, and really helped get Mike on track. And Mike went and got the Duluth job. And you want to talk about another legend? I should be mentioning him. The time that I got to spend around Serty, and then guys like Tommy Soderdahl, another freaking legend. Don Brose would work up there, but Terry Shirklift. I got to be around all these guys. I mean, the stuff that I wrote that I had on bar napkins, like sitting around with those guys at night, like it was an absolute blast and inspiring for a young guy. But anyway, I'm up with Bob working in his camp, and I applied for a job in Fargo, a high school job. I had a teaching degree out of Bemidji. And I tried to get the Fargo South job. I went and interviewed for it, and they didn't give it to me. They gave it to somebody else. But the guy that was coaching at Fargo North was my best friend from Minnesota hockey camps, Dave Morinville. And Morney goes, hey, they really liked you, and they just don't have any experience, and that's why they went this other direction. But they want to offer you a teaching job. Why don't you come and teach in Fargo, and you can be my assistant at Fargo North? So I was all set to go to Fargo and be a high school coach, and teach and coach with Morney. And Bob Peters came up to me one day, called me off the ice. He goes, you ever think about coaching junior hockey? You played in that league. And he goes, the Austin Mavericks are looking for a job, and are looking for a coach. And he said, I can get you an interview down there if you want to do it. And I said, and I just thought to myself real quick, I'm not real good at connecting the dots sometimes, but I connected that one in a hurry. I go, so I can go down there and I can coach, and I don't have to teach school. That sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Yeah. So I went down and I interviewed in Austin. The previous coach was a guy named Frank Anzalone, and Frank had been down there. And anyway, Bill Selman, who was another legendary coach. Bill Selman coached at UMD, coached at North Dakota. Anyway, coached at St. Louis University when I was in the CCHA when I played there. Anyway, he was up at Lake Superior, and he needed an assistant, so he hired Frank Anzalone to go there. And it was in the summer when he got hired. So then I went down there and I interviewed, and there was me and another guy, and the other guy, again, it was like my first goaltending thing. There couldn't have been much competition, because I go in there and they said, well, we can't pay you a lot of money. We can't give you any benefits. You can use Jim Weber, the owner. You can use Jim's phone to make. He's got a watch line to make recruiting calls, but we can't pay you very much, and we can't give you any benefits. But if you want the job, it's yours. And I didn't. I go, I'm all in. I go, I want it, And I just wanted to coach, and so I ended up going down to Austin, and the Mavericks were in the Midwest Junior League with the Vulcans, so they were our arch enemies. Lou Vero was the coach at the time down there. I had Doug Woog. Think about that. Doug Woog's coaching the Vulcans, and Teddy Hampson is coaching the Junior Stars, and Lou Vero is coaching the Austin Mavericks in the old Midwest Junior League. I mean, talk about, three big timers. But anyway, I go down to Austin, and one of my best friends is Walt Kyle. He had played down there. They beat us in the national championship game one year. But anyway, I go down to Austin and coach, and I inherit this team from Frank Anzalone, and the cupboards weren't bare. And I remember starting out. The first game I ever coached was up against the Junior Stars. We got beat 11-1, and I'm going, oh my God,
Hope
I
the owner fell asleep.
Yeah, I need to get my resume back together. And I remember anyway, there was a guy named Hal Tierce who was with the Bloomington Junior Stars. I remember him coming up, taking time, and saying, hey, you know what? Bad night, just flush it away, go work with your kids. And anyway, we had a 3-game weekend. The next game we lost, but not too badly. And then we went down to Des Moines, and we actually won and we won our first game. And that was good. And I remember the first half of the year, I went to work, and I had some good mentoring from the guys that I just mentioned. And I was ready for a job like that. And we went down to Des Moines. Anyway, the first we were 7-17 to start the year in the first half of the season. Second half of the season, we went 17-7, and we took the national champions, Jack Barzie's Dubuque Fighting Saints. We took them to a fifth game in a 5-game series, and we lost in that game. But it that just fueled me, the success that we had, and I brought a bunch of range kids down there. One of the Girardi boys from Hibbing came. I brought him down. Brian Crippa from Grand Rapids. Chris Lavasser from Grand Rapids. Ryan Reed from Grand Rapids. Tommy Morasti from Virginia. I brought a bunch of range boys down with me, and those guys combined with the guys that I inherited with Frank ended up being a really good little team. And I was in Austin for 3 years. And the first year, like I said, it's 7-17, not so good, to 17-7. And we take Dubuque right to the wire. And Dubuque had Gary Suter, Steve McSwain. They had some, the kid from Duluth, Skeeter Moore. Remember Skeeter Moore? Yeah. Skeeter was down there. And they had a terrific team. Anyway, I go back the second year, and we finished second in the league. I got Peter Stauber, who's your congressman, Peter, and he's my wife Carol's first cousin. I had Peter, Brad Atall, had guys from all north. I had a pile. I brought all northern guys down with me because that's what I knew. And my third year in Austin, we won the regular season championship. We lost to Kevin Hartzell and the Vulcans in the playoffs, but we won the Anderson Cup. So, things are going good. I'm confident. I've got that thing humming. We go from finishing fourth to finish second to finish first. And then down in Austin, the heartbeat of Austin is Hormel, and Spam. And anyway, that year the Hormel workers, P9, I think, whatever their union was, they go on strike. So that's the heartbeat of the community. And there's if people aren't working, they're not going to be able to go to hockey games. And one of the best owners, best guys I've ever worked for is Jim Weber down in Austin. I remember getting together. He goes, Frankie, we're not going to be able to do it. He goes, nobody has any money. The businesses aren't going to be able to support us. And Rochester had always wanted a team, but they were within the radius of Austin, so they couldn't do it. And so Jim got together with some of the businessmen, Mark Janes, Gus Shafolius, some of the businessmen from Rochester, and he sold the team to them. And the guys go, well, we'll buy the team. I remember them coming over and watching a practice before we went to the national tournament, and we had a good team. And the practice was crisp and everything. And remember those Rochester guys coming down. They go, we're thinking about buying this team, but we're only going to buy it if you come with it. And that was one of the coolest things anybody ever saw. They go and went there, and remember Mark Janes, his dad was a hockey guy, and he was a hockey guy, and because I've never seen a practice run like that, and I was just like, oh man, I would have followed him anywhere. And so we moved over to Rochester, and we were over there for 2 years. The first year over there, again, we finished second in the league to Sioux City. They had a terrific team. The next year, we were loaded, and our best player was a guy I'm sure you heard of named Sean Podine. And we had another guy named Daryl Noren, who was the all-time leading scorer in the East Coast League eventually. Another kid named Bobby Melton that led us in scoring that year. But we won the Anderson Cup, we won the Clark Cup, and we won the national championship. Went into Detroit and played Detroit CompuWare. And right in Oak Park, and right in their building, we went in and we beat them in the national championship 3-0. And trust me, it was a 3-0 ass kick, and I was so proud of our guys. We won. And after that, I just go like, I need to move on. I came here, I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, and I need to get college on my resume. And John Marks was the assistant at North Dakota with Dean Blaze and Kerry Eads. And Marksy was leaving North. They had just won the national championship. I don't know, you guys, this is way before your time, but the Herkus Circus, North Dakota. That
was my first D1 game at 87. I got to watch the Herkus Circus.
Well, then there you go, and Bobby Joyce and Eddie Belfour.
Mickey Krumpetich, our hometown guy.
Oh yeah, then they won the national college championship the same year we won the national junior championship. Okay. But anyway, Marksy is leaving to go coach pro, so they have an opening, a graduate assistant opening. Dean Blaze was the associate head coach, and Kerry Eads moved into John Marks's position, and they had that graduate assistant, and I had a chance to go to a couple other colleges. But Bob Peters always told me, like, if you want to be a college coach, and I wanted to be a college coach. I never wanted to be a pro coach. I always wanted to be a college. He goes, get your graduate degree, because someday you're going to get interviewed for a college job, and there's going to be academic people on that committee. And he goes, you know what, Frankie? He goes, they like that stuff. They like that stuff, So I had a chance to go up, and Gino called me, and I interviewed with him. I'd talk on the phone, and he goes, you've done a great job down there. I need you. You've got good experience as a coach, but I need a goalie guy. I need a goalie guy as well. And he goes, so the job's yours if you want. And so I went up to Grand Forks, and I worked with Gino and Dean Blaze and Kerry Eads for 2 years, and that was a really good experience too. I learned a lot. From those guys, and so I go from the USHL to North Dakota, and remember the end of my second year in North Dakota. I remember Gino calls me in, and he goes, comes in, he goes, Frankie, I got bad news, and anyway, he goes, the NCAA is cutting back the amount of games, then the staff members. They're cutting back scholarships from 20 to 18. And he goes, they eliminated your position. And I was on the bottom of the food chain. And he goes, I don't have a job for you next year. He goes, unless Dean or Kerry leaves, which I don't anticipate. And I go, well, don't worry about it, Gino. Yeah, I'm here 2 years. You've been so good to me. Hey, I'll find a job. I mean, and anyway, so that afternoon, my wife had just 2 weeks later found out my wife's pregnant. So then I find out 2 weeks later that I don't have a job. So then we go to the doctor, and I walk we're going to the doctor to see the baby doctor. And there's this lady, this little blonde haired lady, and another guy sitting there in the doctor's office. And we go by him, and I go, God, that guy looks familiar. And I walk through and go in there, and the doctor is doing the ultrasound, and he looks at me and he goes, hey, coach, he goes, you're going to have to buy 2 pairs of skates. And I go, what? And he goes, duh. He goes, there's 2 babies in there. I'm going, well, that's great news. I just lost my job. My wife's pregnant with twins. What am I going to do? Anyway, I'm walking out, and I'm going, that's Pierre Lamoureux. And that the guy sitting in the lobby, and his wife, Linda, and she's pregnant. Well, turns out Linda is pregnant with twins as well. And she ends up having twin girls that are the same age as my twin boys. And who would ever guess that the girls were going to end up being better hockey players than the boys were? And my boys were pretty good players. Tommy played at Minnesota, and Timmy played at Augsburg. Tim played in Bismarck. Yeah. So how crazy is that? I'm walking out. There's Pierre and Linda, and they're pregnant with twins. Anyway, I get a call from the GM in St. Paul, who I had played for years before, named Ron Woody. And Ron goes, hey, Frank, this Omaha, this guy bought the Omaha Lancers. And the Lancers 2 years before, when we won the national championship, had an 0-48 season. That was their first year. They played in the city rank. They were just terrible. The guy got awful. And he goes, but this guy got him, and he got him into the Exarban Coliseum where the horse track is, and he got a lot of money. He comes from he's a descendant of the Brandeis families with his Yonkers department stores and all that. Wow. And they had 4 experimental games in Exarban, and they drew over 5,000 people a game. Wow. And he goes, they want to hire somebody that can come down and bring a winner there and bring it fast. And I go, and I knew that league, and I had been recruiting for North Dakota for 2 years, so I knew where all the players were. And so I take this job in Omaha. I go down to Omaha, and in that first year, they had been, in 2 years, they had won 15 total games. Anyway, we ended up winning like 56 games that first year. I went down, we had like 15 or 16 returning players coming back. And in junior hockey, you don't want to have a lot of players coming back. If you got a good team, your good players are leaving and going to college. It's a transaction league. First of all, you got too many veterans here. You got too many guys coming back. So I went down there, and I cut the entire team except for 3 guys: a defenseman, a goalie, and a forward. And the goalie was a Heine kid from Virginia, and he ended up being our 3rd goalie. And the defenseman ended up being like our 6th defenseman, 6th, 7th. The kid named Hutton, his boys ended up being good players years later. And Freddie Knipscher was the forward. Freddie ended up going to St. Cloud and actually played for the Boston Bruins. But anyway, I kept 3 guys. I cut the entire roster and brought a pile of ringers in there. Remember, Walt Kyle sent me a couple of guys. Brian Gans was one, and I had Angelo Ricci that I knew about in Chicago. And we went in there and we won the Anderson Cup and the Clark Cup in the first year. And I remember I'm negotiating with the Bear family. This is the people that own it. And I'm going there, and I'm just a simple guy from Coleraine, and the guy goes, they're going, you know what? You can either have like 30 grand, or we'll give you 15 grand, and we'll give you $1.50 off every ticket sold. And I'm going like, hey, I'm just taking the money. And first of all, you give me 35 and I'll come. And they go, you don't want, and I go, no, I don't want that. Well, we end up drawing 6,000 people a game for the entire season. Like, you do the math. Like, I'm the worst. You talk to my buddies. I'm the worst businessman in the history of business. And,
82 game schedule, 40 home games, $250,000 back in 88.
You're the finance guy. You're the finance guy.
And I remember, like, it was just nuts in Exarban Coliseum. They were the Detroit Red Wings farm club back in the day. Then they hadn't had a hockey. They were hockey starved, but they were a hockey town. And all of a sudden we start playing. When they all come out right away, and we're winning. And there's 6,000 people in there. and it's just crazy. If the game was boring, I'd look over here. There's a fight. You look over here. There's a guy making out with his gal. Like people wearing all costumes and face painted and like it was insane. And I remember Ted, my owner, going, we're walking around and after one of the games, there's like 30 empty kegs, and I'm going, my God, whoever sells this beer has got to be making a fortune. And he goes, yeah. I go, who owns this? He goes, well, Brandeis Catering. And I go, well, who owns them? He goes, we do. So they had their fingers in everything. Politically, they were able to get us into Exarban, and what a magical year that was. And they call it the worst the first year, and the rest is history. And then Mike Genzel, Dave Morinville came for a year, then Mike Genzel came, then Mike Hastings came, and all those guys were really good coaches. And the Lancer franchise was, the history of Lancer hockey, especially back in those days. Mike Hastings won like nobody down there, and for a lot of years, and we know his story and where he is right now. But anyway, at the end of the year, John Harrington is a Virginia guy. Ba is at Denver, and he's in scouting one of our games late, and had him over to the house, and he's going, he goes, Frank, they're firing Ralph Backstrom. He goes, you should apply for the Denver job. And I go, well, what about you? He goes, they're not going to hire me, guys. They're not going to hire anybody that was on the staff. But he goes, you should throw your name in there. And so I threw my name in there, and I got an interview. And ironically, I'm in with a trio at Denver. The other three are Rick Comley, Frank Anzalone from Lake Superior State, who I had gotten the job from in Austin, and myself. And I remember Walt Kyle calling me. He goes, you're going to get that job. And he goes, unless they reshuffle the deck, you're going to get that job. And I go, why do you say that? He goes, well, first, he goes, he was working for Rick Comley at Northern. He goes, Rick told me he just wants to, he wants to come down. He just wants a raise. He wants a raise at Northern. So he's going to go down and he's going to use it for a raise, which he did. He got offered the job the first. And he goes, Frank Anzalone, Frank's going to talk his way out of me. He's going to go into an interview and piss everybody off and talk his way out of it. And Frank was a terrific coach, really good operator. But, he had the whole thing up at Lake Superior had kind of gotten volatile with him getting involved with the Denver thing. And the Denver thing fell through on him, and so did the thing at Lake Superior. And all of a sudden, I'm in Colorado Springs they used to have a deal called for coaches called the Program of Merit. You'd go there and you'd get prepped up, and you'd go to Lake Placid or St. Cloud or Rochester to work with the elite kids. And we were there, and I was with Jeff Jackson, and Jeff was Frank's assistant at Lake Superior. And I'm on a payphone, and he's on another payphone. And I just talked to a guy named Terry Toy. He just told me I got the Denver job. And I go to Jeff, I go, I got the job. And he's talking to Frank Anselm. He goes, Frank thinks he's going to get it. I go, well, this guy just told me that I got it. And I go, you want, and then we get off the phone. I go, why don't you come with me? And I talked to him, and my other buddy was Don Lucia. And I go, and Walt Kyle, I wanted him too, but Walt had gone through cancer, and he couldn't leave the state of Michigan because of his medical insurance and all that. He had to stay there. And so I'm talking to Don Lucia and Jeff Jackson to be my assistants at Denver to start out with. Well, Frank gets in trouble up at Lake Superior, and Jeff gets the Lake Superior job and goes on and wins a couple national championships there. And then Donnie's up in Alaska coaching at Anchorage. And he goes, I can't leave. And I go, why can't you leave? He goes, I have 1 year. I've been up in the system here with Fairbanks and Anchorage. I've been here for 9 years. If I get 10 years, I'm vested in the state, and I'm going to get this really good hospitalization policy, for life after I'm done. So Don doesn't come because he wants to get vested in the Alaska system. And, obviously Don's done pretty well. I think he would have been just fine without that 10th year in Alaska. But Don doesn't come. I end up bringing Troy Ward and Mike Gibbons with me to Denver. Donnie goes back to Alaska for a year, maybe 2 years. And anyway, the CC job opens up. Brad Butow got fired. And Donnie goes down and ends up getting the Colorado college job. Like this, you sit here and talk, and I know I'm a fossil, and I'm talking about all these old guys and all that, and all these people, but like it's interesting how small our world is. Like hockey guys, so you can sit here. I don't care. Like I don't know you guys personally, but all of a sudden we start talking. How many guys, how many people do we have in common? Do we know that we have in common? And what a wonderful fraternity to be a part of. And the best thing about hockey guys, and you can ask any media person, which athletes they prefer, to interview and talk. And it's hands down, it's hockey guys. There's just something about this game that produces good people.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We're like you said, it's a totally small world, but we were up against a hard break again here, Frank. So, everybody, you're tuned to the Tea with Miss McGill show. We're going to be right back with our special guest, Frank Serratore.
Yo, everybody, it is Puka. Quick merch drop here. As always, a little breezy here. We've got the t-shirts, but now visors, $20. T-shirts, $20. Hats. Now these got the patches on them. So let us know also if you'd like to see something different, but Goatsportsmediallc at gmail.com, or you instant message. We can do, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, all that good stuff. So there it is.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Tea with Miss McGill show. Once again, our special guest, Frank Serratore. A quick word from the Ring Sports Bar and Grill, just down from the Hockey Hall of Fame in Eveleth. Daily specials, breakfast, lunch, dinner, daily happy hour, 248-8582. Give Michelle a call, or you can order at the ringsportsbarandgrill.com. Like I said, just down from the Hockey Hall of Fame. Use up those gift cards we told you to get during the holidays. The Ring Sports Bar and Grill, we thank you for your continued support.
I'm thinking that it was about this time last year that we were at the Rink Bar and Grill, and I had that, what is it, the Rink Burger?
The Rink Burger.
That thing, I'm still full from it.
Yeah, well, we were with David Tomasoni's kids.
Oh,
probably
my
people
gosh.
that you know, Frank.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We were with
Wow,
Dante.
that was a heck.
Yeah, that was a big burger, and you cleaned it up.
I
Dave-
was,
Dave
it's not
was a
my
good
first
player.
time, but it won't be my last.
Yeah, Dave was a good player. Yeah, another Chisholm guy. Yeah.
Yes.
So we kind of went through the Denver. I wanted to touch on something with the Minnesota move. So that was right when I was getting out of high school. I remember that era because obviously, was it Norm Green, the owner of the North Stars? That was first name Norm, and of course the North Stars leave, and Go for Hockey was big then, but I think it got a lot bigger when there was no pro hockey. But I just not so much on the coaching side, but as you're taking this job, as you're going through that process, just kind of what was your feeling, or what was the word on the street in Minneapolis, St. Paul, kind of about, pro hockey returning, or how much they missed it, or we don't want it because it's not the NHL, it's the AHL. Just can you kind of touch on kind of what the sentiment, maybe that's the word I'm looking for, of what the Twin City was like of revolving around pro hockey at that time? This would be what, 94, 95?
Well, it was, first of all, like, people felt betrayed. They felt jilted. Like with the North Stars, when Norm picked them up and just picked them up and moved them to Dallas. Like
I was the seventh grade. I was picked off.
It's personal. That's one thing about hockey in our state. Like it is a way of life when you with your teams, your Grand Rapids team or Coleraine or your Gophers or Beavers or whoever. It's more than just a fan. It's more about just being a fan. Like it becomes ingrained in your DNA, and you take things personal. And when the pro hockey fans down in Minnesota felt they were angry and they felt betrayed. And my owner, Kevin McLean, bought an International League franchise and brought it into St. Paul. And, the St. Paul people really embraced having that team there and in the Civic Center because, the North Stars played in the Met Center, and which was more affiliated with Minneapolis. Hey, trust me, like in the Twin Cities, there's a lot. If you don't, my wife's from St. Paul, you don't ever make the mistake of saying she's from Minneapolis.
You don't. Okay. No, that's a good way to start a fight right there.
Yes. Yeah.
Or sleep out in the doghouse.
And what I told Lou Nanny years later when Greenway went to the state tournament, I said, the Twin Cities is not Minneapolis, St. Paul. It's Coleraine and Beauvais. Like,
That's right. That's right.
But anyway, we ended up going in there, and I got the job. I didn't have any pro experience, and I wanted the job. I needed the job. I got let go at Denver, and I needed a job. I had a wife and 3 kids, and this opportunity came to go in the International League, but I had to sell myself, and I didn't have any pro experience. And Kevin McLean liked me, but he was hesitant to hire me. And I said, well, what? Would you give me the job if I brought Glenn Sonmore with me? And he goes, Glenn Sonmore, the old North Star coach, the guy with the patch. He goes, you get Glenn Sonmore. He goes, gets Glenn Sonmore on your hip. The job is yours. So I called Glenn, and Glenn was retired at the time. And I said, hey, Glenn, you're looking for something to do? And he said, I'm always looking for something to do, Frank. And I said, well, I got the Kevin McLean. I can get this job, but the caveat is you got to come with me. We talked for a little bit. He goes, I'm in. Glenn had been retired for long enough where he was kind of bored, and he wanted to get back in. And he goes, I'll take the job, but under I have one stipulation. He goes, you hire Anton as your assistant. I go, oh, do I have to? Do I have to hire? Do I have to hire Anton? One of my favorite.
My arm.
Yeah, twist my arm on that one. And so Anton and Glenn and I end up going down and running the Minnesota Moose, and just some funny things. Just working with those guys, working with Glenn. I mean, what a old school kind of just old school country genius. He just knew hockey from a DNA standpoint. Like he knew hockey. He knew a hockey player. Like he knew what kind of guys it took to win. And you want to talk about a guy that had an infectious personality that like you would just follow through a wall. I mean, Glenn was just one of those guys. He had that personality. I remember he'd always we'd let him sit in the front of the plane. He'd get the first class seat, and Glenn only had one eye, and he'd walk. I remember walking out of the plane, and when Glenn went somewhere, you just followed him, So we go out, when we're getting out like little ducklings, little geese following the mother goose, and Glenn's going. All of a sudden, like Larry Olam or somebody goes like, isn't baggage the other way? Like Glenn would just start going, and people would follow him, and that was Glenn. But he knew everybody, John Brophy, Scotty Bowman, like we went to a couple of NHL drafts. I got a chance to meet all these guys through Glenn because Glenn had been in pro hockey, and he's a beloved figure. And he had you'll love this, Reed. He had we would be evaluating players, and we'd be talking about a player. Well, I go, what about this guy, Glenn? And he goes, can't do it, Frank. Can't do it. And I go, well, what about this guy? He won't do it. He won't do it, Frank. His whole thing was either you can't do it, which means you're not good enough, or you won't do it, which means you don't have enough heart, And then he had, then you get with the right guy. He goes, yeah. He goes, we want him. But his whole thing was can't do it, won't do it. So I get with my it really, when you get right down to it, when you're looking at players, the ones, if they're not good enough, they either can't do it or they won't do it. It's as simple as that. And I still use that. Yeah, can't do it, won't do it.
You can't do it. I'm going to run that by Clafton next time we come to the rink. Talk to fans. Can't do it, won't do it. That's a good way of putting it.
And then I remember we start the season, and I remember, like, I'm a college guy. We only have like 34 college games, so you're coaching your ass off all the time. And I remember, like, I had all these all these veteran pro guys on the Moose team, and I remember going in after like the first period of the first game and talk, and then after the game, I like talked to him for like 10 minutes, and Anton comes in, he goes, pulls me aside, he goes, Frankie, he goes, you got to slow down. He goes, we got 82 games. You're going to run out of material after about 15. Like, no, slow down. Slow down, Frankie.
Yeah, you made the comment about Sonmore having the personality. You mean to tell me that you had 2 guys on your staff with personality?
Oh God,
oh man, it sounds like just a chatty Cathy airplane trip or the office. I can't imagine what the
office. Remember Gary Olson from the St. Paul Pioneer Press? Ole was our beat writer. Like Ole came for lunch every day with us because he goes, I just love listening to you guys.
Yeah.
The banter, it's so much fun listening and giving each other shit and talking hockey and Ole loved it. But that Moose team, we had some good players. Interesting enough, the first guy that I signed was Dave Hackstall. And Kerry Eads and I had recruited him out of Red Deer, Alberta, over to North Dakota. I never coached him at North Dakota because I left, but Kerry and I recruited him, and I saw what kind of leader he became at North Dakota. And then he played in the minors, and he had an NHL mentality. He was like, that guy was all business. He was a pro, but he didn't have NHL talent. So he was kind of a career minor league. I go, I want that guy to be our captain.
Well,
and
close enough
so
for
I
you to have coffee with him now. He just got the job in Colorado.
He just got the job up the road, right? So anyway, I signed Hack, and we bring Hack in, and Hack is the captain of the first Minnesota Moose team. And keep in mind, like the Moose, we had Gordy Roberts on that team. I mean, we had Dave Snuggerud on that team. We had Reed Larson on that team.
Yep.
We had David Christian.
After. That's what I was named after.
Yes. Oh, could he shoot a puck? But we had Dave Christian. But think of those guys. The NHL pedigrees those four guys had. But the captain of our team was Dave Hackstall. And you know what? I never had Snuggy or Reed or Gordy or David ever look sideways about it. That's the kind of presence that Dave had as a leader. There's no coincidence why he's been so successful at every level that he's ever coached. And then we had Johnny Brill, who was a Grand Rapids guy. Johnny was on that team. He was Chris Miller from Coleraine, Greenway, was a Greenway guy, Mr. Hockey guy. Larry Olam, Johnny Young from South St. Paul. It was a mix of all these older guys that were on the back end with young guys that were trying to, trying to make it. Yeah, it was and it was a great experience for me. I never really wanted to be a professional hockey coach. The transaction aspect of it I really didn't like. I'd rather like the college thing where you go in and you recruit, and you build your team, and you work with your guys, and then everything comes full circle. Now 28 years later, now college hockey is pro hockey. I mean, like this.
Yeah,
with the transfer portal.
Well, that's part of some of the conversation that I think we'll get into. Yeah. So you spent how many years with the Moose? How long were you there?
I was there 2 years in Minnesota. Well, and then what happened was the second year, because the North Stars had moved to Dallas. Anyway, the Jets were struggling up in Winnipeg. So when the Winnipeg Jets, it was all in the papers that the Jets they're moving to the Twin Cities. Well, if the NHL is coming back to the Twin Cities, the IHL is dead. We're dead. We're dead in the water. Oh. And so my owner twitches and makes a deal up in Winnipeg to sell the Moose to the people in Winnipeg because the Jets are leaving Winnipeg. Well, the Jets change their mind and they go to Phoenix. Yeah. So the second year, we're a lame duck team. And the majority of our guys, especially the older guys, they didn't want to go to Winnipeg. They were at the end and they had family in Minnesota or whatever. And so the second year we made the playoffs. We had a good first year. The second year it was a mess. The fans got mad because, we were going, they knew we were going to Winnipeg and they were going to be without hockey again. And so anyway, another guy mentioned Jim Weber, another guy named Mark Chipman, who was the head of the True North. He's still with the Jets, still heads the Jets thing. What a fantastic human being he is. He was a North Dakota grad, played football there. But anyway, he brought me up. I was the only person that he brought up to Winnipeg. And so I went up to Winnipeg for a year with my family. We actually, ironically, we rented Mike Keene's house in and Mike was playing in Colorado at the time, and we rented his house at the Assiniboine Forest there, and that's where we lived. Actually, it was kind of cool. But anyway, with the Moose that year, I was like a player personnel guy. I scouted the American League. I didn't coach. We had a guy named Jean Perron, and then Randy Carlisle was the assistant, and Randy, I knew right away that this guy was he was a great player and a Norris Trophy defenseman, and I knew that he was going to make it as a coach too. He was like Glenn. He had hockey figured out, and so I went up there for a year. Anyway, after that year, I wanted to get back into college hockey, and I'm scouting like the American League. Anyway, at the time, you talk about things going full circle. I'm scouting. They have an all-star game between the NCAA All-Stars and the Canadian College All-Stars, and they're playing at Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. And I was going to scout that game because we're always looking for free agents to sign and whatnot. And Donnie Lucia is one of the assistant coaches with the NCAA team. So I called Luch, and he had stayed in my basement plenty of times. I go, hey, you got a room? Hey, I got a really nice room at the Renaissance, 2 beds. He goes, you want to crash with me? I go, yeah, I pay. So we go out for beers, and we go back to the room, and we're laying in bed BSing like we did in the old days. And he said, you know what? You want to get back into college? He goes, Air Force job just opened. He goes, would you be interested in that? And I go, I don't think that would be me. I don't think that would be my cup of tea. And he goes, well, that job is open. Anyway, I got home and I told my wife about it, Carol, and Carol goes, you're always telling your players to look into all their options. How come you're not looking at all your options? We liked it when we were out there coaching at Denver. We love living in Colorado. What's it going to hurt to go look at it? So I came out and I interviewed at Air Force, and I expected just to see a bunch of grim-faced kids goose stepping around, and it wasn't that way at all. It was, the kids they all wanted to be Division I athletes, and this was their best deal, hockey-wise, financial aid-wise, an Ivy League caliber type education. When I walked around, I mean, it was actually, it energized me walking around and seeing the cadets and, and how dialed in they were and how polite they were, and hello, sir, and open the door and going, and they were going by the gym and they're all working out, or you walk by this area and they're all studying. I'm going, this is a pretty cool place. Because I didn't have any military background, and it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And so I went back and told Carol about it, and I interviewed, and they offered me the job. And I said, what the heck? I had another job in the line. I was going to Pittsburgh with Kevin Constantine, and I had gotten Kevin the Rochester job. I'm all over the map here, but I had gotten Kevin years before the Rochester job. When I went to North Dakota, I brought Kevin in, handed him a team. He wins the national championship in Rochester again. Anyway, we're buddies at Minnesota hockey camp with Chuck Grillo, and we kind of go our separate ways, but I need a job, and Kevin just got the Penguins job. And he was going to bring me and Troy Ward in, and Troy was my assistant at Denver, and Troy was going to be the offensive coordinator. I was going to go to be the defensive coordinator. And that's when Mario Lemieux was making his comeback. So we were on our way to move into Pittsburgh, but I had a wife and 4 kids at the time, and we were just bouncing all over God's green earth. And this was a chance to kind of go out and just kind of hit the pause button. And I knew that I could make Air Force better right away. I just knew I could. So we loved Colorado. So I called Kevin. I said, you know what? I'm going to take this job at Air Force. He goes, really? And I go, yeah. I went out there. I think it's pretty cool. I'm going to go out and if you got something in a couple of years, I may be ready to move again. So I came out to Air Force and planned on being here for a couple of years and just kind of getting my family grounded. And 28 years later, 8 years later, I'm still sitting in the chair here. And
so what year was that, coach, that you took the job at Air Force?
It was like in 97 or 98, 97.
97,
I can't
first year there. So that would have been like, I brought up Marcus Peters. That would have been your first year coaching.
Yes. And Marcus, Marcus was already, he had already been here, I think, for a year, maybe 2.
He graduated in 97. So 97, 98 season would have been his first year at Air Force.
Well, maybe I inherited him. Yeah. I had Marcus for a couple of years, and then he decided to give hockey up. I had Marcus for a couple of years, and then, he went on. I think he ended up being a pilot, but he was a good kid. And you know what? Pretty good little hockey player too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because that's part of this is where this whole conversation goes. We went through an awesome career, juniors, college, pro, and then full circle back into college, into what I think is a unique college situation. We could sit here and have a completely hour, 2 hour long conversation about the NCAA and all the stuff you have to deal with now, which is a complete mess in my mind. Sorry, but it is, with NLI and with portals and all that kind of stuff. But I think what you have there, coach, is unique, because these kids they're college athletes. They want to be Division I hockey players. They want to play at the highest level, but they're dialed into a career in the military, which means there's a path that they have to continue on. So if you're coming in, going into the portal, and you've been at a college for a couple of years before, it's probably a really difficult situation to go into the portal and come in as a sophomore or a junior at Air Force if you didn't start there. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but they're looking at trying to complete Air Force Academy as a pilot and become an officer at some point in time, or however that. Talk about the uniqueness of that particular college situation. I think it's unique.
Well, it's really unique now because with the NCAA has professionalized collegiate athletics.
Yeah.
And then, the transfer portal, what is that? It's free agency.
Yep.
It's free without compensation.
It's a mess.
And
it's going to stop at some point here soon.
The rich get richer. The
Yeah.
NCAA came in, I think, running from lawsuits.
Yep.
And they opened everything up before they thought things through, and we end up with a Wild West. Like,
Yeah.
it's not regulated. I mean, in pro hockey, I thought pro hockey was crazy, but at least we had contracts. You know what contracts are? Contracts are rules.
Yeah.
We had also, the players were independent contractors, and they were unionized, and there was a collective bargaining agreement, which is a set of rules. Like right now in collegiate athletics, I think like it needs to be regulated in some way, shape, or form.
It does.
And you just can't have these kids just jumping from here to there. You need to be able to get them under contract, and there needs to be. It's just, I don't think it's sustainable, and it's not healthy. And with college hockey, like it really hurts college hockey more than any other sport, and it hurts it because in baseball and football and basketball that obviously have pro entities, in college, for the most part, they're all Division I institutions. I mean, some are Power 4, some are Group of 5, some are this or that, but they're all Division I institutions. In hockey, we're a special entity. Like, we're a one-room schoolhouse. We've got glamorous Power 4 programs, the Big Ten schools, Arizona State, Boston College. And then we've got Division III schools like Union and RIT that sponsor hockey at the D1 level. The institutional diversity is massive. And the only thing that held the ecosystem together was players having to sit out before they transfer. If you're at a Division II institution, Division III institution playing, and you have a chance to go to a glamour program, especially if your agent is pushing you that way, that's what's going to happen. And with this, now the rich have gotten richer. It actually it destroyed the ecosystem. I'll tell you right now, the pole camp boy was a wonderful player. Was with my brother at Bemidji for a year. Plays for David Carl in the World Juniors. Goes into my brother after they lose the championship game to Michigan Tech to go to the NCAA tournament. Hey, I'm transferring. And where's he going? He's going with David Carl to Denver. The Wilkie kid at RIT was a good player at RIT, and transfers to North Dakota his senior year. Let me tell you, boys, if they had to sit out a year, there is no way they leave. No. They both play another year at the institution they're at, and they sign a pro contract. So it's kind of destroyed the ecosystem. The rich, hey, the power schools have always had advantages. Now they've got a pocket full of mulligans that they can use with the transfer portal. Big money. The mechanic had just signed with Penn State. I heard run these numbers down. I have to talk to Motzko about it all the time to see what's fact and what's fiction. But supposedly they're, these big schools, they've got the glamour, they've got the institutional aid, they've got the NIL, and they're gonna find a way to get it on the front side, and they're gonna find a way to get it on the back side. Here at Air Force, Reed, you talk about, it's still pure here at Air Force and Army. It's old school. We have to do all our work on the front end. The transfer portal does not work for us. We can't use the NIL. That's all spectator sport for us. Like, we have to be good on the front end, and we have to build. We have to try to minimize our attrition, and we need to get deep and old. I'm going to tell you something, boys, and nothing you probably don't already know. College hockey's pretty freaking good. Pretty freaking good. Like, when you've got, Faber and Snuggerud, these guys, the best college hockey players, they're not just going to the NHL at the end of the season and being a depth guy or being on a playoff roster. They're going in and stepping right in on the power plays. That's how good the top end of college hockey is. We're producing over a third of the players for the NHL right now. Then all of a sudden, bang, the CHL becomes eligible for college. That's 60 elite USHL type programs. They're not all like that, but there's a pile, 60 of them. All those players are matriculating into college hockey right now. And also the ones that have matriculated out that are playing at Canadian colleges, they're transferring back because they can transfer in now and play. Like, the rosters next year are like, some are going to be unrecognizable because of all the new players that are going to be coming in, from the CHL. I talked to Chris Mayotte from CC the other day. We were talking about scheduling, and Mayo said, "You know what, Frank?" He goes, "Our first line," he goes, "you and your brother were right about this at the convention when you brought up what was going to happen, and you guys were bang on." And he goes, I didn't think it was all going to go through. I didn't think it was going to be what it was going to be. He goes, but it did. It went through. He goes, our first, on paper right now, Frank, our first line next year at CC is not going to be as good as our first line was last year with Laba. They had a real special first line. He goes, but our third and fourth lines are going to be better than our second line was last year. And that's what the saturation with the CHL saturating collegiate hockey, like, it's going to make it as good as it is right now. It's going to get it's even going to get deeper. It's going to be better. We're producing over a third of the players for the NHL. Watch those numbers creep up closer to half the players, because the agents, they want their players playing college hockey. Why do they want their players playing college hockey? Why?
Well, they need the time to get there. I mean, when they draft these guys in the NHL, they're drafting them 6 years down the road. So they need their time.
You're on the right track, Reed.
I think you're
but college hockey is a men's league.
Yeah.
College hockey is a men's league. It's not a boys' league. The CHL, the USHL, they're elite junior leagues, but they're a boys' league. You can only play till you're 20, and a few guys till they're 21.
Yep.
And there's a reason why these guys are walking out of college hockey. And they're not, hey, they're great college hockey players, all Americans, but they're walking right into the same roles at the NHL, and they're making seamless transitions because they're going from men's league hockey to men's league hockey. Yeah, and like I said, it's only going to get deeper and better. At one time, there was a fork in the road for players. You either went the college route or you went the CHL route to try to get to the NHL. Now, other than the freaks like McDavid and those guys are going to make it regardless, the great majority of players, 99.9% of them are mere mortals, and they've got to develop. They got to get bigger and stronger. To your point, Reed, they got to get bigger and stronger. And like, where's a better place to do that than in college, where there's less games? They get in the weight room, they get coached, they get trained. In the competition, they're playing. If you've got an 18-year-old stud, he's out, and if he's playing against Bemidji State, or if he's playing against Bowling Green, or if he's playing against Robert Morris or Bentley, like that 18-year-old at BC, BU, Minnesota, they're playing against men, 24 and 25-year-old men. And that experience, like that's helping them grow, learn how to play in that traffic against that strength. with that speed. And like I said, the best players now, they're going seamlessly to the NHL, and not just as depth players or on the roster somewhere. The best ones are going in, and they're going right into impact roles.
Which is why, I really like the dynamic of the military college situation. You talk to you're not just taking, a regular kind of average or below average student and I'll just give just a quick example. When I was in high school, I had a brief conversation with Army Academy until they saw my ACT scores. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting great students. You're getting people that are going in to play college hockey, but they are serving their country as well too, because they're going into the military. And I think this is a route that's unique around college hockey, which I think you get a completely different animal. And I say that because I coached two of your players. I coached Ren when he was a Bantam, and I coached Ren when he was a senior as well, when I jumped off from the Bantam team and went up and started helping Chido at the high school. And I got to watch Carter Clafton play, and this another guy that is a Raptor. So I know some of the guys that you get, and these guys there's military mentality involved in this, and I think it's
they're just disciplined. They're disciplined kids, and they've made more good choices in life than bad. They're like, hey, our guys, they're not a bunch of angels, but they're good people. Like, hey, if you had a daughter at home, you'd invite some of my guys over for dinner. You just would. Like that. That's the kind of guys they are. And they're great it's inspiring to be around. People ask me, how do you inspire your players? I go, my players inspire me. Like, what they go through on a daily basis, academically, militarily, the amount of credit hours that they're taking. And then they come down. The favorite part of their day is to come down and get chirped at by Uncle Frank. I mean, it's fantastic. The other thing you have here, and there's no utopia. Bob Motzko worked for me at Denver, was my assistant and one of my best friends all growing up. We came through the USHL. Actually, Chris Morkway, Ren's dad, played for Bobby in North Iowa before he went to Bemidji and played for Bob Peters. God, Chris was a tough customer too, just like his boy. But you got your challenges at Minnesota and Michigan too, like keeping those guys dialed in, getting them to assume a role, maybe trying to get them to be a part of something that's bigger than just them, instead of them going, what can you do for me to get me the best pro contract? That's one of the things we have here. Like, our guys know they're not going to the NHL. They come in and they're team orientated people. They just, that's part of their DNA. That's what attracts them to this place. They're perfectionists. They get together with their buddies. They grow during basic training, and ultimately, as a team, they want to become something bigger than just that. They want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. I always tell people, we don't have players here. We don't have one player that has it all. We just don't. Those players that are multi-tool players they're going to the big schools and whatnot. But all of our guys have got a Division I attribute. They got something they bring to the table. And I said, we don't have one guy that has it all, but collectively, on a line, you get a guy, and you do it too, Reed. We all do it. You get a guy with some legs that with a little spunk, with a playmaker, and maybe a guy with a goal scoring touch, and you got a line. And then a D pair, you got maybe this guy's a defender and maybe this guy's a bit of an offenseman. And I'm not looking for two individuals back on D. I'm looking for a pairing, and then together they become a group of five. And that's what we coach, a group of five. When you're killing penalties, group of four, everybody's operating in sync. Everybody has a job. And if you don't do your job, you let down the other four. You become the weak link that breaks the chain. And our guys they want more than anything not to be that guy. They want to be the guy that their teammates can count on. And when you're thinking about the hockey thing, and these guys are going into the military, what kind of people do you want defending your country? Who do you want to be in a foxhole with?
These guys got to be able to fly up the fighter jets. They got to be able to fly the drones, and there's some of the smartest and best team type attribute people on the planet.
Right. When that guy's up in that fighter jet, there's a pile of people on the ground that are with him and directing him, and they're all in it together. And it's a cool aspect. Like, I don't have to beg my guys, not, don't be selfish, be a team guy. That's already there. It's already in their DNA. Now, do I wish I had a few more pair of soft mitts on the power play every once in a while? Yeah, but you can't have everything. Like I said, and I was getting to, Bob has to juggle different things at Minnesota. He's got to try to get some of those guys dialed in to become, part of it, to become part of a team, and to accept a role that maybe, as a freshman, maybe they're not going to be on the power play, but they need to accept and embrace a role as a penalty killer. And eventually, if they stick with it, eventually they get on the power play and they get their points. And then they go to the NHL, and maybe they're not on the power play in the NHL, but they make the roster because they know how to kill penalties because of what they went through as a freshman back at Minnesota. And so it's a juggling act. I mean, again, everybody goes, Motzko at Minnesota and at Michigan, and these guys, they got it all. They got all the advantages. You know what? They got some advantages, but and they get a lot of the players that they get their choice of the majority of the players. But you got to pick the right ones, and you also got to coach them right. You got to coach them up right, and ultimately the team that wins the NCAA tournament might not be the most talented team, but it's the best team collectively. Like I said, on our roster, we don't have one guy that has it all, but collectively within the framework of our roster, we do have it all.
Yeah.
We're the ultimate team. We become the ultimate team when we won championships.
That program to that extent too. That's
a lot of credit to
over the years. It's you came into a program that you said, I believe I can change and grow this program, and over the years you've done that, and it's been an absolute pleasure having a conversation.
Yeah, we're running up to the clock again, but this was great. We'll have to have you back on.
We'll do it. You know what?
Anytime soon, are you?
Let's do it. Hey, I got to give a shout out. You guys buy a car from my buddy, Pete Bunner Jones. You know him? Pete Jones, Bunner?
Oh, Pete Jones, Kelly McChev and all that.
Yeah. Bunner was, he was the other good player on our high school team with Johnny Murphy. He's a car dealer. He was my assistant with that first Greenway junior team. Big moment guy, but what a great guy he is. I knew. Hey, we're connected to we're connected to everybody.
You got it.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. Coach, thank you again, and hopefully we get a chance to catch up here in the near future. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Maybe someday when you're in Coleraine, we'll have a beer somewhere.
You know what? I hope you guys enjoyed it half as much as I did. You know what we need to do? Let's get me and my brother and Pat the Rat on sometime, and then
that'll be a fun one. We better have it out about 3 hours. Sounds good, Coach.
Yeah, thanks so much, Coach. You can go ahead and drop off. We appreciate it. I'll shoot you an email before I post this.
All right. Thanks, pal.
Good. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. All right. Wow, what a legend. Frank Serratore, thank you so much. That was great. So, kids, hope you got something out of this one too. So, Coach, anything else to add to episode 112?
No, I mean, we're running close on time here. Just want to say that was a fun. I know it was a long one, but it was worth it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Please comment, please share. This was a great one. Of course, merch available, but we just want to give a shout out to the greatest partners on earth: Aspire Heating and Control, the Ring Sports Bar and Grill, Aero Auto Glass and Door, Fortune Bay Resort Casino, Zorbas of Grand Rapids, Iron Range Goalie Academy, Grand Rapids Chevrolet GMC, Minnesota Hockey Camps, the Jackson Hole Moose Hockey Club, Iron Range Plumbing and Heating, and the First National Bank of Chisholm. For Reed Larson, I am Puka. Get out there, enjoy the rest of your summer, and be your dream. You're tuned to the Tea with Miss McGill Show.
First National Bank of Chisholm, where tradition meets the future. Locally owned and operated from our historic Lake Street location in the heart of Chisholm since 1905. From savings to your first big purchase, we're your partner every step of the way. First National Bank of Chisholm, the power to do more.
All right, fellas, you just can't get the hockey itch out of yourself. The college route isn't for you. Community college route isn't for you. The junior hockey route isn't for you. Well, there's still hockey that you can play. Why don't you check out the Jackson Hole Moose out in Jackson, Wyoming? Take a look at these guys. Full crowds, full hockey, packed houses every night. Get a hold of TJ Thomas on Facebook, and he can get you hooked up with what's going on out there in Jackson Hole.
Like to hear about Zorba's specials? On Mondays, it's Micro Monday. All taps are just $4. Tuesdays, $3 tacos and $4 dos Equis. Wednesdays, personal pizzas, $8 and domestic taps, $4. Thursdays, we have deals on nachos and $5 Surly taps. We offer trivia on Wednesdays at 6 p.m., bingo on Thursday at 6 p.m., and in karaoke Thursdays at 10 p.m.
Did you know that fascia strength training is great if you have a banged up body and you'd like to heal and get stronger at the same time? Unlike muscle focused exercise that leaves your body stiff and achy, fascia strength exercise releases muscle tension and fills your body with a spring-loaded power and cat-like agility. Fascia strength is great for athletes and martial artists. If you'd like to pursue this training, take a look at my program, Fascia Strength and Power. I'll leave a link in the description box below.